All right, so good afternoon, you guys, and welcome to our week 4 Zoom for module 156. This is our last Zoom in this module because we're about to have that 2-week break for the holidays. And then right when we come back, it's going to be, we're going to have 1 day to finish this module. And then we're starting a new module that Tuesday on January the 9th. So, and that'll be 157. But in 157, we will still be continuing on in SimChart. Just your assignments will be in SimChart and not in e-learning. They'll tell you which ones in SimChart you have to do. So, but let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. And we're going to talk about some of the stuff that I get really excited about with billing and coding. So, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year because it'll be that before we see each other again. Um, Again, we've got a 2-week break, and then we're back in January. So, we are going to, for our agenda today, go over some announcements. We're gonna talk a little bit about what y'all been seeing in chapter 6, focusing on the revenue cycle and insurance and billing stuff. Okay. We're going to do a little bit on SimChart, some Q&A on that if you guys have questions, a couple of tips I want to give you guys, and then we'll close it out with any other questions that you guys may have. All right, so announcements real fast. Okay, so we have got the new system update that we've been working on since like June and July. We finally got some clarification on that. You guys will be getting emails in the beginning of January to start setting up those logins, okay? Because it's a whole new system, a whole new server. So we're gonna have new accounts and logins and things that we have to get set up. And again, those emails will be coming after we come back in January from break. I have training on the new system starting the day we come back. I just found out about that yesterday. So our Thursday meeting, the week we come back, may be getting adjusted by like 30 minutes. I may do it at 4:30 because one of my trainings is that Thursday from like 2 to 4. So I'll probably move it to till 4:30 for that week. But yeah, so starting in January, we'll start setting up those logins and getting y'all transitioned over to our new system. I do not know yet when it's going to launch. So I'll keep y'all updated as we go. All right, so again, happy holidays. No class starting this coming Monday, which is Christmas, so Merry Christmas. And then all the way through till January 5th, and we'll be back on Monday, January the 8th. And again, we will be closing up module 156 on that. So please, if y'all are behind, please, please, please take advantage of this 2-week span. I have opened everything. If something is closed, an assignment, then leave the answer in the comments, please, so y'all can get those points. Y'all know I don't dock you for things being late. I just want you to do it. And if you need to reopen an exam, we're on break, but I can still pop on and reopen an exam for you. So if you need to do that, I'm here. Okay. Just because we're on break doesn't mean that I'm not going to be reachable if y'all need me, if y'all are working on something. Okay. I will still be available. The extra credit assignment that is also opened in your My Unitech site and ready to be worked on. And that's a fun project, guys. Those of y'all that are about to finish may have already done it. It's basically creating a digital vision board of what you want to accomplish, what your goals are for 2024. All right, and you can do it in paper, on a poster board. You can do it I use Canva. I use Canva for mine, and it's a free, little design software that's fun to use. I use it all the time for work. I do all of our slideshows on it. And again, there's a free version, so you guys can take advantage of that. The link is in the assignment. And that's going to be due. I think I'd put the due date for January 8th for that. Do it over break, please. All right, so fun stuff. Fun stuff. One of the things that y'all have been reading about in chapter 6 is the revenue cycle. And basically, what that is, guys, it is how money flows through a medical office. It's the cycle of getting the money and how it flows through the office, everybody that has a hand in that. All right. And you'll see it says this is the success of each step is dependent on the preceding step having been done correctly. All right. If one of these steps breaks down and the job gets dropped or lost or somebody doesn't do it correctly, everything after that is going to get messed up because our information is not going to be correct. And basically, how this starts, you'll see it's really a cycle, and it's kind of also how your patients flow through the office, how claims flow through the office is this same cycle. Okay, it starts with scheduling. It starts at the very beginning when the patient contacts the office for scheduling. And each, also, something to note, each of these 8 different things on here can represent a different job in a medical office. Each one can represent a different position held in a medical office, depending on how that office operates. But it starts with the scheduling when that patient contacts the office and makes that first appointment. We get their insurance information, we pull it, check their benefits, things like that, schedule their appointment with the provider that they want, and we go on, right? Step 2 goes on to record documentation. And this is essentially getting that patient's demographics when they come into that office for that first visit, getting their demographics, getting all of their information, copies of their insurance cards, verifying their insurance if it wasn't done during scheduling, which it should have been. It should have been verified before they ever got scheduled. But if it didn't, that's the time to do it, is when they get there right away. Before they ever see a provider, you want to have that done, okay? And documenting all that, collecting the forms, the privacy policies, and the disclosures, and all of that stuff, collecting all that. That's all record and documentation, okay? All right, and then we go on to number 3, which is charge capture. Okay, and what that is, every time a patient sees a doctor, and we generate charges. Basically, an office visit, there's a charge for that. If they did a shot, there's going to be a charge for that, right? Charge capture, it's each one of those things that's going to get coded and stuff like that. And the coding of it can be included in charge capture, because the way it works is the patient gets seen, they fill out, the person checking them in and getting their information, usually the nurse practitioner that works for that doctor, or the nurse that works for a nurse practitioner will also collect some of those information. Some of that information, they'll put it on a super bill and it gets sent to the coding folks if their office operates like that. Okay, and that's considered charge capture. We're getting all the information that they had done during that visit, and we're creating charges to go along with it. All right. Number 4 goes into claim submission. And in most offices, the person that does the charge capture is going to go ahead and file those claims when they're done getting all those charges in. Okay. Charge entry. That's what it's called in a billing office. The person that inputs all that stuff in the computer is called charge entry. Okay. We're entering it into the computer system, into the EHR, right? All right. So then claim submission. We prepare the HCFA 1500, usually digitally. We file most claims electronically nowadays. And they get sent out. They get sent out to get processed by the insurance company. So most of the times, most offices will send them to a clearinghouse. And all a clearinghouse is a company that basically collects data from a doctor's office, reviews it, makes sure everything's correct. And if it is correct, they send it out to the insurance company. If it's not correct, they send it back to the doctor's office to be corrected. It's a way of checking ourselves before we send something to the insurance company. And it'll catch little easy things. Like if their policy, if their date of birth is not the same as what we have and what's on their policy. Well, guess what? If it's not, the insurance company is not going to pay that claim. So we have to correct that before we send it out. And that's what clearinghouses do. They clear the forms of any errors and then submit that information to the insurance company that it needs to go to. And some offices are hooked up with 2 or 3 different clearinghouses because not all insurance companies will communicate with every clearinghouse. It just kind of depends on your office, your area, what insurance companies your doctors are doing business with, which ones are they credentialed with, right? You want to be in with the clearinghouse that has the majority of their insurances that they're credentialed with, that they're going to be using. Okay. And that is claim submission. We're sending that information out to get checked and then submitting it to the insurance company. All right. And then if everything goes beautifully and the claim gets paid first go round, it's going to go to step number 5, which is payment posting. And payment posting, in every office that I've worked in, payment posting was a specific job for a specific person. One person in the office did it all of the payment posting, because it has to be a very trusted position because you're literally entering every dollar that comes into that place. Payment posters handle the checks and EOBs and things when the insurance company sends them back, and they take okay, the insurance company will send us what's called a register. And basically what it is, most of the time they pay electronically now. They will send an EFT or an electronic transfer to the doctor's bank account. Okay. And then they send us a document because they send us one bulk check for so many claims. And they'll send us a document that's kind of like an EOB, like an explanation of benefits. Sometimes it's called an EOP, an explanation of payment. Okay, because it's logging all the payments that they are included in this check, right? It's a list of all the payments that are included on this check, that they're sending or have deposited to us. And the payment poster goes through line by line and goes in account by account and puts in what the insurance company paid, what they disallowed, what check was received, what date, all this different information that she has to get to the patient's account. And every account that was paid on, she's going in and she's marking and putting in all the amounts and things, right? So the accuracy in that position has got to be top notch. You got to pay attention to what you're reading. You got to understand what you're reading. You got to understand how a medical billing account works, as far as disallowances, payments by insurance, payments by third parties that are not the insurance or the customer, or the patient. It's somebody else that's paying on it. You gotta know how to do all that stuff. All right. So, and we'll get a little bit more into that in a little bit. But step number 6, if the claim does not go through the first time, if it gets rejected or denied, or whatever the case may be, it comes back to us. However, we're going to go on to number 6, which is third party follow up. And basically, what that is, all right, your provider is party number 1, your patient's party number 2, your insurance is your third party. Okay, so when we're doing third party follow up, it means we have filed a claim to an insurance company and they have not responded to us. Oh no, my battery is low. Cruddy dud. Okay. Y'all, I'm sorry. Give me just 1 second. Let me plug this thing in. Usually I do that before we get started, but just bear with me for just a sec. Water break. Oh, come on, give me the little menu. Okay, sorry about that. Crisis averted. All right. So, third party follow up. That's following up with your insurance company. When you haven't heard anything about your claim, it's been denied or something, and you need to go back and check it. A lot of people, when you go to work for like a third party billing service, or an outsourced billing service, I should say, a company that does nothing but handles the money side of things, claims and billing for a provider, essentially. Um, a lot of what you do is third party follow up because the people in that office, for whatever reason, don't have the time. Maybe it's a busy office. They don't have the time to stop and call an insurance company and figure out what's going on. They're dealing with patients and different things like that. So they will outsource this work to a company that specializes in that kind of thing. Because y'all, what we do is specialized. It is a specialized training. Not Joe Blow off the street cannot jump into a medical office and check on claims and file claims and know coding and all these things. It's just, and that's why we get paid a little bit more. Okay, because we are specialized and we're trained. Um, but a lot of what you do is third party follow up at a billing service. You get explanations of payments, you get reports that that was one of the main things that I did when I did billing was I would work off of a spreadsheet, and it was a spreadsheet of accounts, and it was sorted by how past due that account is. Is it 30 days past due, 60 days past due? No, I know everybody has gotten a bill and they have that little bar on it that says 30 to 60, 60 to 90, all that, right? That's how an account ages. And a lot of what we do when we do third party follow up, we pull what's called aging reports. So it shows us a list of all the accounts in our office that's past due and needs to be followed up on. And we just go down that list and we get our claims paid and we knock down that list because that list represents a lot. It represents usually a lot of money. Okay. And what we call that is called AR balance or account receivable balance, basically your ledger balance. What money is outstanding that is owed to you that you have billed out and not collected back in a medical office, right? And what we have to do is we have to make our primary job is to make that number as low as possible. Get them claims paid, get that money, honey. Get your provider paid. So we're going to work that report and we're going to call on them accounts. We're going to find out if that payment went missing, if that claim got denied, why did it get denied? We're going to do what we got to do with it, right? And at that point, when we're figuring out what we got to do with it, it moves on to the other steps in our revenue cycle. And you can see number 7 is rejection processing. And that's just basically figuring out what was wrong with the claim. Was it coded incorrectly? Was the person's insurance expired? That's very common. Did they not have insurance on that data service? Uh-oh. And refiling those claims, fixing them, correcting them, and then sending them back out to get paid, hopefully. And most of the time they do, guys, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't get paid the second time you send them out. Sometimes they don't get paid the third or fourth time you correct them and send them out. You just have to keep going because either one of two things is going to happen. Eventually, it's either you're going to find a resolution to it, something's going to resolve itself. The patient may have owed a balance. We may start billing the patient if they didn't have benefits on that day and knew about it. Or we may need to appeal it. We may need to, if the insurance company is just being that stubborn, but we believe in our heart of hearts and in all of our training that that claim should have got paid, we are going to appeal it, right? Just like in legal court. That's the decision you made. I don't like that decision. I'm going to appeal that, right? We have the right to appeal. And that's the last step, is appealing. Because once that process is done, that's it. That's it. If we've exhausted all those options, then it's a wash after that, okay? If it didn't get paid along the way, we're going to end up writing that off some kind of way as a loss. And that we want to write off as little as possible. That's the goal, to collect as much as we can and write off as little as possible, okay? So that's the revenue cycle in a nutshell. That's basically how the information, the patients, and the money flow through a medical office, from scheduling the appointment to filing that claim to processing to claim correction if we need to do that, all the way to appeals. Okay? Any questions about that? And I know that was a lot of information thrown at y'all at one time. I do know that. But y'all will read about it in chapter 6, or y'all should have probably already read about it in chapter 6. But if you have more questions, maybe you didn't catch the first time, because I did pull this chart straight out of your book. I pulled it straight from your textbook. But I love it. I use it all the time because it's such a good visual representation of how that cycle works. And that's one of the things that I say when y'all get out of this program. I don't suggest you go straight to work from home. I suggest you work in the medical office for at least a little bit and get accustomed, get used to that flow, how the data flows, how the job positions relate to each other. Okay? Because once you're at home, you don't get to go to so-and-so's cubicle and talk to them about it anymore. When you're at home, you're expected to know your stuff, and the only way you're getting in touch with people is through a phone call or an email. All right? It's real impersonal, and it's a lot more on you when you are at home alone. Okay? But when you're in that medical office, still learning things and getting to know things, you can ask people questions without looking like you don't know what you're doing. Okay? So I highly suggest working in a medical office for a little bit before. All right, so part of this process, and one of the things that y'all looked at in chapter 6 was a HCFA 1500 claim form. Every charge that gets filed to an insurance company, whether that be Medicare, Medicaid, Blue Cross, United Health, Louisiana Healthcare Connections, whoever it's getting filed on a HCFA 1500 form. Excuse me, y'all. Now, while all of the information on that form is very important, there are a few pieces of information that if you do not have on that form, or if they are incorrect, that claim is automatically coming back to you, and it's not going to even make it past the clearinghouse. It's not going to ever make it to insurance. Okay, it will be rejected like off the top. So we're going to talk about that, and it's information that's down all the way at the bottom of the form. All right, and this form is in your textbook on page, I have it down here at the bottom. Full form on page 147 in your textbook, down here at the bottom over there. Okay, so at the top of the form is the patient's information and what insurance company they're going to. We're filing to. It's their insurance information, their date of birth, their address, making sure their policy information and all that's on there. In the middle of the form is where your charges are at. your claim lines, your dollar amounts, your ICD-10 codes, all that. And at the very, very bottom, the last 2 or 3 sections at the bottom, which is what I have here, you have a section that's all about the provider. Okay. It's all the provider's information, their tax ID, which that's the first one on my list. The federal tax ID, box 25. And that's kind of one thing I love about the HICFA is that everything is labeled box whatever 1 through 33B, I think it is. They're labeled. So it's going to ask you when you're working on HICFAs, they're going to ask you about box numbers sometimes. When you call about claims, they'll say, what's in, I'm looking for this information. Where on the claim form is that? Oh, it's box whatever. Okay, so you can find that pretty quickly. But boxes 25 through 33 are really important. Box 25 is your federal tax ID. And that is the reason that's important is because every claim that gets filed, every entity has to be registered with the government. They have to, if they are operating as a business, they have to have a business identity, a tax ID number that they're filing taxes under. All right. You can, that's also one piece of information that you cannot call an insurance company without having. If you're working for a doctor's office, you have to know their tax ID. You have to know their NPI, which we'll talk about in a second. But box 25, you got to have correct and it's got to be filled out. Tax ID. The facility location information, box 32. All right. This is where the services took place. This is where these services were rendered. Okay. The physical address location of where the clinic, hospital, doctor's office, whatever it is, that's the information that goes in that box. The geographical mailing address, physical location of that clinic. Okay. Now, that's box 32. In box 33, you have billing provider information because here's what's kind of where credentialing and things for doctors come in. All right. Let's say you have a doctor. All right. They have an NPI. Every provider in the country has an NPI, a registered NPI. All right. That doctor may work for a clinic. That clinic has its own NPI by itself. All right. So if the doctor did the services, but they're working for this clinic, you're going to put the clinic address where it's located in box 32, but their billing office may not be the same physical location. Their billing address may be a PO box somewhere, or it may be an outsourced billing company, or it may be something else. Their headquarters may be elsewhere and their billing people are located there. That's the billing provider information. It is not always going to match your service facility location. That could be two different things. So that's something to be aware of and pay attention to. Is my billing info the same as my servicing info? And servicing is who did it or where it was done. And your billing info is what company is billing it out. What company's in charge of making that money? Because all right, say you work for Dr. Johnson, but Dr. Johnson works for Christus Cabrini Hospital. Well, guess what? The tax ID that's going on this claim is going to be Christus Cabrini Hospitals. The servicing NPI is going to be Dr. Johnson, but the billing NPI is going to be Christus Cabrini Hospital. Does that make sense to everybody? Y'all see kind of how the hierarchy there and how it can be the billing information can be different than the servicing information.
And that's also because the doctor works for the hospital.
You broke up on the first part of that. One more time.
So is that because the doctor worked for the hospital?
Right.
That's why the hospital's the billing that the doc provided?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And doctors also, they are not stuck to one billing entity. They may work for Christus Cabrini Clinic during the day and then do rounds at the hospital at night. And those are probably going to be like each location's going to have its own set of information. You know what I mean? Like the tax ID. Okay, like think of a big group like Christus Cabrini or what's it up in Shreveport? Willis Knighton. Willis Knighton up north. Or Christus Cabrini if you're down south, or Lourdes or Oshner or whatever. They have different hospitals all over the place, right? They have different clinics all over the place. One might be a cancer clinic. One might be in like a woman's care clinic or a children's hospital. There's different locations, and each of those, they all work under the same tax ID, but each one has a different NPI. Okay, each location. And then each doctor in that location has their own NPI. And that way, the doctor could work for all these different locations and start their own practice on the side under their individual information. So it's like you have this one big entity that is in charge of these other smaller entities, and then your doctors are under that. And that's how the billing hierarchy, how you have to think about it like that. It it it's fun. It's fun. And it gets really interesting when you're doing work for one particular doctor that works at like 3 different clinics. So you've got to have tax ID and NPI for all of these different locations. And you've got separate addresses for all of these locations. And then some of them have a different billing address for some of those locations. It can get complicated, and that's why billers end up with 5,000 sticky notes, because we have Dr. So and so's, all of their stuff that we have to remember there, and then the other Dr. So and so, and we have their stuff listed under there. It can get complicated. It can, but it's not outside of understanding. It's really not. It's really not. Um, but that information on the claim form is vital, is really, really important. They've got to know who's billing this stuff out and who they need to pay. If box 33 is not filled out, they don't know who to pay, who to cut the check to, basically. So, and that's like, okay, that's for those bigger systems. You may work for a little small town doctor in rural Louisiana. Their service location may be the same as their billing location. Everything may be the same because it's one little doctor with one little practice, you know? So it just depends on who you go to work for. But the end of that HCFA form is very, very important. And again, that's page 147 in your book. All right. So this is a patient statement. And one of the most important things that we do when we work in a billing office of some sort or a doctor's office, you may get stuck answering the phone wherever you are. You may get a call from a patient who got a bill or a statement in the mail and doesn't know why they got it or what it means or what all these columns are or any of this stuff, right? So this is example number 1 of a patient statement, and this is my current personal battle, or it was a year or so ago. I've actually gotten this straightened up because this is all jacked up. This is all jacked up, and I had to look into it myself as a billing person to get it straightened out. But this is it turned out cool, y'all, because I got this jacked up statement in the mail from an urgent care that I went to. Okay. They did not apply what I paid them the day I went in the office. And then the insurance paid on it and they never got the payment, or they got the payment and nobody ever posted it to my account. And then I got this jacked up statement, knowing dang good and well that the day I went in there, I paid $44 for a copay, and I had called the insurance company and figured out what they paid on it and was like, hey, I need y'all to adjust my statement because all this is wrong. And I ended up going to work for them people. Instead of being ugly to them about it, I was like, hey, it looks like you got some missing pieces in your billing department. That happens to be what I do for a living. I'll come work for you. I'll be your billing manager and straighten it all out. And y'all want to know what they paid me while I worked there? $35 an hour. $35 an hour. Because their stuff was so jacked up. It was jacked up. It took me 6 months to get that clinic's billing straight. 6 months. And that was, y'all, I did that on top of Unitech. I was working at Unitech at the time. So I was making my salary that I make at Unitech and working for them a few hours a day. But I had a 4 hour a day minimum. I worked for them like 3 days a week, but I said a 4 hour a day minimum was what I charged at $35 an hour. And I went into that interview and I was like, I would love to help y'all out. This is what I cost an hour. You know, that's a great spot to be in. It feels good to be in that kind of spot. But anyway, so this statement that they sent me, first of all, okay, I paid them $44 that day. It was not on there. All right. They charged me $210 for a new patient office visit, which y'all see 99203. And then I had a second visit with them, and it was a 99212 because it was established patient. We know that from our CPT coding, right? And I have these charges, but there's no adjustments, no payments received, no nothing, right? So I called the insurance company and I found out, and I dug out my emailed receipts that they sent me, and I figured out that they were only allowed to charge me $44.29 for this visit, and the insurance company actually made a payment of $22.14 on these claims. So I called them and talked to them about it. I called the insurance first to make sure that they had gotten payments. I got check numbers. I got dates. The payment was issued. I got all this thing. And the whole problem with that office was they didn't have anybody to do third-party follow-up. They didn't have anybody doing that. So these payments were not getting posted. They were getting skipped over. Even the payments being made in the office there were not getting posted to the accounts because they had nobody to do the billing. Like, you cannot, it is really hard for an office to run with no billing personnel. You've got to have somebody in that office that concentrates on billing, or the money is not going to flow. The claims got to keep moving through the office, or the money is going to stop. And then the office has no money to run, and then it gets shut down. So the money's got to flow. But this was my battle, that they had charged me all this. I made these payments. We eventually got it straightened out. But tips for calling when you need to talk to somebody, okay? Have the information ready. Know what you need to talk to them about and have the information ready. Like, before I called them about this, I called the insurance company. Now, Karen down the street probably doesn't know all the things to ask that I know to ask, right? Because I do this for a living. But you guys will know what to ask. Y'all will know, right? So you're gonna have all your information ready before you call them, which, when I say all your information, if you're checking on a claim, you need the date of service, which in my case on these was 8/16/21. They're over there on the left, and 8/25/21. Okay. You want to know the billed amounts. They're going to ask you billed amounts, and they want total billed amounts when they ask for that. And that's in that billed column. $210 for one date of service, $100 for that other date of service. All right. So, and they're showing that's what my balance is on here, $310. All right. So per the insurance company, you always want to find out who you're talking to. That's thing one. All right. Thing one is name. Thing two is reference number. All right. Because here's the deal. If you call an insurance company and you talk to Maria from Guatemala, who just happens to be answering the phone that day, and she tells you ABC, okay? If that does not fix your problem and you have to call back, Going, I talked to Maria in Guatemala and she told me ABC is going to get you nowhere. Nowhere. You're going to have to start over with somebody new. And that's a pain in the behind. All right. So a good way for to have these conversations that you have with people saved, or a transcript saved, or some way to reference it back, is you always get a reference number. If that insurance company gives a reference number, and sometimes they'll tell you it's just my name and the date. Okay, that's fine. What, give me your name and the date, and you put that in your notes. Reference number is rep's name and date, and then you list it there. Okay, so that way if somebody else has to come behind you and they're wondering, like your boss comes behind you and they're like, oh, so and so worked on this account, let me see what they did. They're going to pull up the notes and they're going to see, okay, Kina called Mary in Guatemala on 8/25/21, and the reference number was Mary in the date. And this is what the rep said to Kina. All right. They'll know what you did, they'll know what you talked about, and they can then take it further if they need to. If you ever got a call back, because I tell y'all what, y'all, some of these little clinics and hospitals, hundreds of accounts, y'all, thousands of accounts, and you will work on hundreds a day. Sometimes you will work on hundreds a day. All right. So remembering that on patient John Doe, you called Mary in Guatemala, and remembering what the date was and what Mary said, unrealistic. Unrealistic. Put it in the notes. If it is not documented, it did not happen. Okay? Get that reference number. And then you can say the next time you call back, because a lot of the times they'll tell you, okay, I see what you're saying. I'm going to reprocess your claim, which means that they're going to take it and send it back for claim processing. Well, guess what? Sometimes it'll deny again if they don't put the right notes in. It's going to deny again and come back. So then you get to call back again and talk to Tommy in the Bahamas instead of Mary in Guatemala. And you're going to be like, Tommy, I talked to Mary on such and such a date, and this is what she told me. And this is my reference number. If you give them that reference number, they can look up the conversation. They will look up that conversation and see exactly what Mary told you. Okay? And then they'd be like, oh, I see. She was supposed to send this back for claim reprocessing. Let me add this note to it and we'll send it back again. And so on and so on. And sometimes you got to do that several times to get a claim paid, depending on the insurance. I personally believe that Blue Cross denies everything the first time, regardless of what it is. They deny it the first time. I swear they do. But I digress. But that's how insurance companies are. But we got to be persistent, and we got to be efficient, because what they do on a lot of this stuff, like Blue Cross in particular, you have a claims filing limit, which it starts on the date of service the doctor sees the patient. Okay, and from that date of service, you have maybe 90 days to file that claim. You got 90 days to get that sucker in their system and in there, right? And depending on what they do with it, hopefully they just pay it and it goes on, right? If they don't pay it, it gets denied or something. They notify you about the denial and you have a certain amount of time, like 30 days. You can't let the 500 other accounts go and forget about this one that's due in 30 days to get it refiled after they deny it. You have 30 days to get it corrected and resubmit it. And if you don't get it resubmitted in that 30 days, then your claim is automatically denied and you will not get paid for it. That doctor's losing every penny on that claim. Every penny. Nobody's getting paid for that work. So timely filing is very important. It is different for almost all insurance companies. Some are 30, some are 60, some are 90. I think Medicare is a year. Or it used to be a couple of years ago. I haven't filed any Medicare claims in a while. But you had a year to get that claim in there. And y'all think a year? Why would it take them a year to get a claim filed? Y'all would be surprised. Y'all would be surprised. Sometimes a batch when somebody does charge entry, if they do not transfer that batch, the claims don't go out. They don't go out, and they'll just sit there till somebody finds that batch. If it's a new clinic or something like that and their billing department just isn't up to snuff, they're dropping the ball here and there. Claims will sit there. Timely filing will expire. In fact, that happened to one of the first accounts I ever worked on. It was thankfully, it was a free care clinic. It was a charity clinic. And thankfully, they were kind of accustomed to writing things off for charity patients, because for the first year they were open, none of their claims got filed. Or they might have got filed, but then they sat there because there was nobody to go back and check them. As the few amount of payments they had that came through were getting posted, but that was it. Nobody was working the denials. Nobody was working the rejections. Nothing. So their stuff, we ended up writing a lot of stuff off. But y'all heard me talk a little bit about AR balance and ledger balance when you're talking about the account and how the money flows in the office and what's past due. So when I started working on that clinic, they had over $500,000 past due. $500,000 out there just sitting, waiting to be either collected or written off. After working on it for a year, I got it down to right about $100,000. Now, probably about $250,000 of that was stuff that had to be written off. $250,000 gone. Okay. How many more people could that clinic have helped if they'd have had that money? You know what I mean? So that's how I think about it. That's how I think about it. My job's important, right? But and that's the whole point. You want that AR balance as low as possible. You want them, you don't want a high percentage of outstanding claims. It's our job to get those claims handled. One way or the other, we got to get them handled. Okay. So, all right. So when you are calling an insurance company, and we're going to do some role play when we come back in module 157, we're going to do some back and forth. If I can get some of y'all to participate with me. But when you're calling insurance companies, like I said, have your information ready, because knowledge is the power. Because here's the thing. When it's like it's like they can tell when you're new. Hi. They can tell when you're new, and you'll be able to tell when they're new. Okay? Because the confidence comes through in your voice. You can tell if somebody is reading off of a script and they don't really understand what they're talking about. They don't really understand what they're saying. Okay? But if there's a way for you to have proof of something in writing before you call the insurance company, like for that same urgent care, okay, they tried to bill me for the COVID-19 vaccine. I got it at their clinic. They tried to bill me for it. But we all remember those, every ad on the radio and the internet and the TV was like, COVID vaccine at no cost to you, 100% covered by your insurance, blah, 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 right? We all remember hearing that over and over again. So why all of a sudden I'm getting a bill over a year later, for a COVID vaccine that was supposed to have been covered by my insurance? So what do? I simply Google Blue Cross, because that's who I had my insurance with, COVID-19 vaccine. And this is what it brought up. Like, this is the screenshot I took off my phone. You will not pay anything out of pocket for the vaccine or the booster. And that comes straight from bcbsla.com, baby. So when I called that insurance company, I had this pulled up on my phone. And I was like, hey, I'm being billed for this vaccine. And they were like, oh, yeah, that you're, well, the first thing they tried to tell me, because the girl didn't know what she was talking about, was that my provider, I had to get with my provider because I was being balance billed. First of all, I know what balance billing is, and it ain't that. So Balance billing is if you go to a provider and they do not accept your insurance, um, and your insurance does not pay on it, they can bill you for the whole amount of the visit if they don't take your insurance. But, and that's why you got to be careful when you sign them new patient forms, because they will get you to sign something to that effect, that you agree to be balance billed if they don't accept your insurance. But I knew that that was not the case because I knew that this provider was credentialed with my insurance. So no, I was not being balance billed. So I said, well, this is what I brought up on your website. The COVID-19, vaccine was covered by the Economic Security Act, which allowed uninsured patients to get the vaccine or booster for zero. Blue Cross will cover the vaccine administration without any member cost sharing, deductible copay, or co-insurance. I was like, so this says I owe nothing. Why are you trying to charge me? And she's like, oh, you're correct. That's right. We'll write that off. I was like, yeah, you dang right you will. You dang right you will. But having this in front of me, having this information in front of me made me a lot more confident going into that conversation. I could say, look, this is what it says on your website, versus me calling in there and saying, I swear I heard something about there wasn't going to be any cost for this. And she's like, oh no, you heard wrong. No, I didn't hear wrong, because I got it in black and white right here in front of me. So if you can, have your information ready to go. All right, verify your information so you can be confident going into the conversation. Don't let them bully or steamroll you, because I'm telling you now, an insurance company, you think having a conversation with a friend who's trying to talk over you is something? Have a conversation with an insurance company when the person on the other end is talking over you in medical insurance jargon that you don't know half of what it is. They're trying to steamroll you. They're trying to throw a bunch of irrelevant information at you that has nothing to do. They're just trying to get you to hang up the phone, basically. I always had a deal. I would not hang up the phone till either one, they told me they were reprocessing my claim, or two, gave me a firm and legitimate reason why they could not pay my claim. That's the only two ways they were getting me off the phone. Otherwise, we were going to sit there and go round and round all day. Because no, you either going to pay me, or you're going to tell me why you can't pay me. And it better be legit. Okay? So do not let them bully and steamroll you. And a lot of new ones will have a script, and they will read off that script. And you'll say, ma'am, can you answer me this question? Blah, blah, blah. And she'll read off that script again. And I'm like, ma'am, you're not answering my question. I'm asking you why, blah, 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 blah. And she'll read off that script again. And boy, that aggravates the snot out of me. So at that point, you have got to be firm enough to ask to speak to someone else. If you've got somebody so new that they cannot get off the script, ask to speak to someone more experienced. You don't have to be rude or ugly about it. You can be as sweet as honey pie. Okay, and it'll probably get you further. But don't be afraid to ask for somebody else. And there have been, look, y'all, I worked in an office that had 16 other women. We were all in a cubicle together. And there was nothing like, and we're all a bunch of moms, little country moms, stuck in a bunch of little cubicles. There was nothing like seeing the sweet little Mama Betty Joe over there in her cubicle get pissed off at an insurance company and she's on the phone standing up at her desk because she's so mad at this lady at the insurance company, and just reading her. Everybody in the office gets quiet, and you just stop and listen. You stop whatever you're doing and you just listen. You're just like, that's right, get up, eat up. It gets fun like that sometimes. It really does. And I've never cussed anybody. But I've gotten real firm. And been like, ma'am, I'm sorry. Apparently you and I have a communication deficit. I'm gonna need to try again with someone else. I mean, I'm gonna need you to transfer to your supervisor or whoever. If there's just somebody sitting next to you that's got more experience, that's fine. Just transfer me to somebody else, but give me a reference number before you do. So, but you got to be confident going in, and they can hear the fear in your voice. If you scared of them, and it'll take you a few times. You're going to be nervous the first few times, and that's okay. That's okay. It took me a while. It took me a while to get comfortable. And I remember the first time I called, it was Medicaid. And the recording, before I even got to a person, they were like, please supply the provider's tax ID and NPI. And I had to hang up and stand up over my cubicle and go, what the hell's an NPI? I don't know what that is. But they're asking me for it. I can't get anywhere without it. So, I mean, you'll have moments like that. You'll have moments like that, and that's fine. You'll learn. You'll learn. And the confidence will come with time. The more you do it, the more confident you'll be. And here's the other thing. When you work for a specific doctor and you're working those claims all the time and you're working the same patients and the same illnesses and the same things, you're going to start to recognize the things that your doctor handles a lot, and you're going to learn how to argue those things. You're going to learn how to specifically argue those few denials or those few claims. And sometimes it's like a situational thing. Like if an insurance company changes a policy on a certain service or something like that, and the coverage is different, you may start to all of a sudden get denials for something that used to get paid just fine. And you're like, what is this crap? And you have to call the insurance company and find out, okay, well, our coverage changed for that service. So now we're paying this or this amount or whatever it is. And you're like, okay, well, now I know and I can adjust going forward. And sometimes you have to let your providers know, hey, they've dropped their payment amount from this to this, or they're no longer covering this. Well, guess what? If it's no longer being covered, that provider may not offer it to as many patients. So they need to know that stuff. Okay. They need to know what they're going to be getting paid for and what they're not going to be getting paid for, essentially. Okay. So it's not only being confident talking with your insurance companies, it's being confident talking with your doctor that you work for. Because sometimes you do have to talk to them to clarify things. Okay. All right. So this, what time is it? It was already almost 5. I've kept y'all a long time today. All right. So this is just a little bit, this is a really complicated patient statement. This is mine for a back surgery, okay, that I had several years ago. But this is a success for me because this is honestly, in the 10 years that I've been billing, I've never seen a claim go to the 3rd level of appeal. And this one did. My back surgery did. But my doctor won the appeal. His billing office was so knowledgeable that they knew exactly what they needed to do. They had to appeal it 3 different times and take it to an outside company. They had to take it all the way to a neutral party to get it situated. But they did, and we won. So, but this is kind of how you would explain it to a patient, all right, if they called and had a question about the bill. Say I called and I said, okay, I see my patient balance. You see that top line, y'all. My patient balance all the way on the right is $1,612.05. Okay. So let's say I called the office and I wanted to know why my balance was that amount. I want somebody to explain to me why my balance is that amount. And, hopefully the person that I get on the phone kind of knows how to look at this statement and see how the payments and things break down. And the way you explain this, all right, say the original charge for that item, and that's that first column after the description, was $5,255. All right. At this point in time, when this statement was generated, I had paid $40 to the office just to keep my account going till all the claims got situated. So that was what they received from me. That's in its own column, patient payments or receipt from patient. All right. The insurance company, after they processed it, you'll see this adjustment column. They adjusted it and disallowed $3,602.95. All right. Can anybody tell me why they disallowed that? And basically what they do when they disallow it, they kind of have to like write it off. Why can anybody tell me why that was? Why they disallow things? Or certain dollar amounts on certain services?
Can you repeat the last part so I can see if I can answer the question or not? I'm sorry.
Sure. Sure. Can you tell me why the insurance company adjusted off that amount that they did, $3,602.95? Why would they adjust that off or tell the doctor they couldn't charge me that? Is basically what they did.
I don't know.
Okay, so basically it's because of this.
They didn't do the service?
Huh?
They didn't do the service?
Oh no, they did the service. I got a little titanium piece in my back saying they did the service. No, they did it. But the way the adjustments work, whenever a doctor signs up with an insurance company, they go through a process that's called credentialing. All right. And when they go through their credentialing, they're signing up with this insurance company and they're going to sign a contract with them. And inside that contract, the insurance company is going to say, okay, we're going to give you access to all of our patients, our entire network of patients. But if you do this service, they have what's called a fee schedule. And it lines out service per service. This is what we will pay on this service. And the doctor has to approve it, agree to it, that they're going to accept whatever that amount is for that service. Okay. So unfortunately for me, my doctor, he was credentialed with Blue Cross, but he was not credentialed with my particular plan. He was not in what's called in network with my particular plan. Okay, he was signed up for some premium Blue Cross plans where I would have got a bigger discount. But because he was not technically in network, I got charged more. All right. They only allow 50% for out of network providers. Y'all, I don't know how many of y'all have ever bought insurance or looked at insurance information from your job or something, but they have that, what your copay is, what your co-insurance is. And that's basically what this is. Your co-insurance is that 50%. All right. And basically what that is that's what the insurance company has negotiated with the doctor for that service. That's the amount. Okay. So he was, like I said, he was credentialed with Blue Cross, but not in network. If he was not in network or credentialed with Blue Cross, they could have balance billed me for the whole $5,255. But because he was credentialed with Blue Cross, they took off $3,602. Does that make sense? Because when the doctor signed his contract with Blue Cross, he agreed. He said, okay, I will only charge your patient X amount of dollars for that service. And they do it by CPT. They have a list of CPTs and they have a list of fees. And it's called a fee schedule, and this is what they pay. And when they get credentialed and in network with the provider or with the insurance company, they take that fee schedule and it's somewhere in the EHR. So that when they bill things to certain insurance companies, they automatically have it in their system. They know what they can expect to get paid for that service.
I tried to open it with my teeth.
What's the right point?
Huh?
But
What do you want?
yeah, so that's what those adjustments are
I'm
about.
gonna pick
Those
the
are
animals.
the contractual, they call it a contractual obligation from the provider. They have agreed in a contract to write off X amount of dollars. They can charge what they want in this column over here, this charges. He could have charged $10,000 for that service, but he agreed he would have wrote off 7,000 more on top of this 3 if he'd have did that, because Blue Cross has their set amount. So anything over that you get rid of, you write off, and it's called a disallowance. But that's what that is. A lot of people, a lot of patients don't know a lot about insurance. They're like, what is this adjustment over here? What is this insurance balance? Why is my balance what it is? All right. And basically what you have to do, sometimes you may have to look at their plan. All you can do is explain these amounts and explain, look, this is what the doctor charged. This is what we received from insurance. This is what you paid. This is what the insurance disallowed and we adjusted off. That left you with this balance here. Now, I love it when they say, well, why did my insurance only pay $219? That's between you and the insurance. I got nothing to do with what they pay. If you don't like what they paid, you got to go to them. I have to operate by what the insurance company tells me. So if you don't like the amount that they paid or the amount that they adjusted off, that is between you and your insurance company. There's nothing I can do about that. You get to refer them back to their insurance company for stuff like that. We can't control what the insurance does. We just have to go by what they give us. Basically, we give them the charges, we give them the patient information, and based on that patient's plan, they give us a response, either some money or a rejection or something. All right. So any questions about anything on a patient statement? And no, y'all, I don't expect y'all to just be able to pick this up and now be able to explain a statement to somebody. It's going to take y'all a little bit of looking at them, trying to explain different ones, because different ones are set up different ways, you know, and figuring out, maybe you have to look at the statement. And I mean, there's been times where I have had to tell a patient, can I call you back? Let me look at the EOB. Let me look at the charges and see if I can explain this better to you. And after looking at their plan and looking at the EOB, I was able to give them a little bit more information as to why the charges were how they were. Okay. But again, once y'all get to a place where you are with a particular provider and you're seeing the same kinds of things over and over again, a lot of your answers become the same kinds of things over and over again. Okay. So it's easy and it's easy to get used to it, and it's easy to get in the flow, get in the groove of it. Okay. Any questions about patient statement right now? Or disallowances? Would y'all like me to do something specific to explaining insurance and how insurance works, co-insurances, co-pays, deductibles, how all those apply to medical charges and things?
So if like a patient goes to neuro or something and they insurance don't cover, and the patient is like, they need something from like a referral from the doctor for them to go there in order for the insurance to pay. It's like that's the same thing.
Yes, if their insurance requires them to get a referral before going to a specialist, yes, they have to do that. But that's one of the things that we do. Or if you get a job verifying insurance or something, if when that patient calls to schedule that appointment, we should be able to look at their policy information and see, oh, I can't schedule you right now because we have to protect our way of getting paid. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a better way to say that. We have to make sure that that patient understands your insurance will not pay for this if you do not have a referral first.
Right.
So, and at that point, they're like, okay, that's fine. And that's when in that new patient paperwork, you have to put in that paper that says, if your insurance does not pay for this service, you will be balanced. You will be responsible for this balance.
Right.
Now, if it's a Medicaid patient, if it's a Medicaid policy, that's a little bit different. There are different rules for Medicaid, okay? And Medicare has their own little stuff too. But doctors who accept Medicare know what the rules are and they follow them, because Medicare, y'all, is big money. Big money. Big money. You do not want to be a doctor that gets kicked out of being able to accept Medicare. It will cripple them. So, and that's usually, there is an expert biller or coder in an office somewhere that specializes in nothing but Medicare. Nothing but Medicare. That's all they do.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do like doctor's office or clinics tend to charge more to Medicaid patients than they would charge to like a cash paying patient?
No, they can't. They can't charge a
Okay.
Medicaid patient anything. They can't bill a Medicaid patient.
Meaning, I mean, like an insurance, like when they go to bill the insurance, are they billing more to the insurance than what they would do for like a person that's paying cash?
It depends on the office. It depends. Some doctors will do a discount for a cash pay patient. And that's one of the things that, okay, when I had this back surgery, Blue Cross would not pay for an MRI without me going to 6 weeks of physical therapy first. So I would have had to pay co-pays and go through 6 weeks of more pain before being able to get an MRI to see what was wrong with my back. So I cash paid that MRI. I got a little bit of a discount, but I cash paid $500 flat fee. They didn't file it to the insurance. We didn't worry about filing it to the insurance because we knew they weren't going to pay on it anyway. Now, had I gone through their 6 weeks of physical therapy and they would have filed that to the insurance company, I guarantee you the charge would not have been $500. The charge to the insurance company would have probably been a couple $1,000s. All right. I'm sure I got a discount for cash pay. $500 flat. They got their cash and they don't have to deal with the insurance company. And that's why some doctors do it, because it's less hassle for them to get their money. I would highly suggest that doctors do it. I think it's great. Because I tell you what, as much as my job is dependent on insurance companies, they're flipping horrible. They're horrible.
My job,
It's a
we
racket.
also cash pay patients like $40 to $80 to be seen.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think all doctors should do that. Cut out some of the hassle, you
I
know?
was asking because like I just had a surgery done last month, and I don't know how much they billed my insurance because it doesn't show when I go log into the portal.
Mhm.
But I know they had told one lady that was in there for the same procedure that I had done. She was like, "Oh, well, the cash payment is 14,200." So I was like, "Well, I wonder how much was the payment that my insurance had to pay versus her cash payment."
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I will say this. A lot of the times, it's not necessarily a discount up front. Like for insurance, okay? Like let's say Blue Cross only pays, let's say $200 for MRIs. They would rather me pay that $500 up front than have to write off $300 of that to Blue Cross if they charge the same amount. Okay. Now, regardless of what they charge, their contract with the insurance company is going to override what they charge. So essentially, they could charge whatever because they've already agreed to X amount from that insurance company. So if they want to give a discount to a cash pay patient, they can. And a lot of the times you may see the full amount on there, and then you'll see cash pay discount, and they'll discount a certain amount, and you're left with whatever that balance is. And a lot of times they'll file that full amount to the insurance company and just get less payment. But that's the whole deal, is the more patients that the insurance company has, like Blue Cross is huge, absolutely huge, millions and millions of patients covered with Blue Cross. So almost every doctor wants to be credentialed and in network with Blue Cross, right? Because it's just a huge bank of patients, huge. So that's why we use them as an example, because they're one of the, aside from your government entities, Medicare and Medicaid, Blue Cross is one of the biggest insurers. So
A lot of patients had people told to, but their insurance not good at all.
girl, so many of them have gone downhill since the whole marketplace crap and all that. We've just been getting, like, I have insurance through my job, so my daughter has insurance. My husband has no medical insurance. We are cash pay with him all the way because we can't afford it. It would cost us $500 a month to insure one person.
Well, you
That's
never tried to apply for Medicaid.
Yeah, and he's the type of person, he's not gonna go to the doctor unless he's dying.
Mm-hmm.
So it does not pay me to pay $500 a month. Because I used to pay like $600 a month for him insurance. I did it for a year and a half and then I canceled his butt.
He might make too much to get Medicaid because if you make over a certain amount, you can't
Correct.
get
We don't qualify for
Right.
Medicaid anymore. We used to back in the day. We used to, but now about 4 years ago, we qualified for Medicaid. But thankfully, we've been blessed. We've been very, very blessed. So we don't qualify for any type of government assistance anymore. So it's all in what we do. So it's
Yeah.
easier for me to put $200 a month in a savings account. And if he has something go wrong, I've got that $200 a month I've been saving up, instead of paying an insurance company $500 a month for him to maybe never use it, them to maybe never pay anything. I'm just paying them to give them money.
Right.
Because the last checkup he got, he's perfectly healthy. There's nothing wrong with that man. Thank Jesus. But me, I've had back surgery. I'm a type 2 diabetic. I've got rheumatoid stuff going on here and there. I'm blind in one stinking eye. I mean, I'm all jacked up. I need my insurance. I have to see a doctor every 3 months. And I have medications, like I was explaining to y'all about the medications a few weeks ago. I'm under medicated because I don't take my medicine like I'm supposed to because the crap's too expensive. I can't afford it.
And that's not right. You're supposed to take your diabetes medicine every day.
Exactly, you're supposed to. When that junk is $350 a month, I gotta stretch it out. I gotta stretch it out. I just can't afford it. So
Where you get your medicine through?
I was getting it at Kroger's, and look, $350 a month is I have something called GoodRx,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have a discount directly from that medicine's manufacturer. It's
And it's
over
still there?
it's over $500 a month, but with the discounts I
Mhm.
get, it's $350, right at
Yeah.
$350. So
Yeah, that kind of medicine ain't nothing to play with. That
Yeah, because
insulin.
I picked my husband insulin. It was like $85. I thought to leave it at the pharmacy.
yes, yes, yes.
And he
That's
got Blue
why I
Cross
had
too.
my
I'm like, yeah.
And look, when I was pregnant, I was on Medicaid and I was insulin dependent. And I would have times when I was higher, my sugar was higher, and I'd have to take more insulin. And then I would go to my pharmacy and be like, I need more insulin. And they're like, well, this is what it is, cash pay. And I'm like, oh, snap. Oh, snap. Because Medicaid would only supply so much,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
a month. They would only cover so
that's
much.
why I had the surgery I had last month because since I had weight loss surgery, so since I had it, I don't have to take blood pressure medicine anymore because my blood pressure was going through the roof even after me losing weight.
Yeah,
And so then I was
That's awesome.
pre-diabetic, and
that's
thank you.
wonderful. That's a
And since
blessing.
I've had it, I don't take none of the medication anymore.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yep. See, I first found out I was diabetic when I was 27, and I was pretty heavy for my height. Y'all haven't ever seen me in real life, but I'm not even quite 5 feet tall. I'm a shorty. All right. So when I get heavy, it shows really fast and it shows really out. Like I get wide. All right. So, but I had let myself get really big and unhealthy, and I ended up diabetic at 27. So I changed a lot of things and I lost like 45, 50 pounds, something like that. And my numbers got so good after that weight loss that I was able to not take diabetes medicine for about 5 years. I could just regulate it. Now, since I've had babies, and now I can't knock off that baby weight. It's harder now to knock that weight off than it was. So I'm a little bit heavier now. So now I'm on medicine. Like my sugar and my weight, I think are directly tied to each other. Like the higher my weight, like 5 pounds makes like a 20-point difference in my blood sugar. It's insane. So I'm trying to lose some weight. I'm trying to get motivated for the new year.
Protein and veggies. Protein and veggies.
That's it. That's it. I'm gonna manifest it. All right. Very good. All right. So let's wrap it up because I've kept y'all long enough today. All right, so little sim chart Q&A. All right, so the labs being turned in should be screenshots of the completed EHR exercises. Most of y'all are doing fine with this. I still have some of y'all that are submitting some typed stuff and different things. Maybe just read the directions a little bit clearer about what needs to be submitted. If you're having trouble taking screenshots or attaching them, please text me so I can give you an alternate way to do it. And y'all, worst case scenario, if our site, because we are about to have that system update, so I'm expecting our site to get glitchier and glitchier and glitchier until we switch. Because now they're in the point where they're taking information from one site and they're moving it to another. So things are going to start to get more jacked up as we go along. I can just see it. So if it's not working, if you can't get the site to work, please, I will accept it via email or text message, worst case scenario. Okay. We'll get you your points that you deserve one way or the other. All right. So there's another thing about sometimes you can't find the form or find the patient that they're asking for. All right. If you cannot find the form, because guess what? I could not find the form either. Go on and skip that. We're not worried about one form. One form's as good as the other one. As long as you know how to pull them up and save them, we're good. Okay. The point of the exercise is to ensure you can complete the task. Use any patient. If you guys started a new session, when you jumped into Simulation Playground, your old stuff that you already put in is not going to be there anymore. You always want to return to that previous session. But sometimes you get in a hurry and you accidentally click the wrong thing. Go ahead and don't spend your time re-entering all that. Just go ahead and use a different patient that's already in their system. I'm not so much worried about the patient because this is pretend essentially. Okay. So we just want to know that you can do the task that they're asking you to do. I don't care what patients it's done on at all. So don't stress about that. Any questions about SimChart while we're here?
I know you said you had opened up a bunch, and I had missed that whole first week of this module. Is that going to be open back up?
You can actually, I don't have to reopen them for y'all to be able to see them. You should be able to just click in and see what the questions or whatever are, and then just leave it in the comments.
Okay.
Yeah. And your thing says iPhone. Who are you? So I can write you down.
That said iPhone.
For your French.
Is Victoria?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sick. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Miss Victoria. And who's my other iPhone user? I think I got two of y'all.
That's me, Dejanique, but you already got mine down.
I do have you down, Dejani. All right.
Yeah, I missed the first week too, so I'm playing catch up. I'm like everything is going into the message.
Yep. Oh, I had a bunch of y'all hop on. Hold tight. I need to write down all y'all names. Because y'all always, when y'all come, you get your attendance automatically. And it helps me when I'm finalizing grades and y'all are like a point away from something. If you come to Zoom a lot, I'm gonna give you that point. So, Deatra, I got you. iPhone, got my iPhones. Miss Crystal, Asia, Lindsay, Amy, Linda. All right, cool. I got everybody. All right, so I'm sorry this one ran long, y'all. I could talk for days about billing and insurance. I really could. But seriously, would y'all be interested in me doing a specific video or a specific meeting on how insurances work and how they break down? Like co-pays, co-insurances, deductibles, explaining all those in really specific detail. Yeah? Yeah?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, I'll do that. Would y'all rather a meeting or just a video? I'd rather a meeting. Y'all could ask questions.
Yeah.
A meeting is fine.
Fantastic. All right, well, we will set that up for when we come back in January. This is our last meeting till after the new year, guys. So I really appreciate all the time today. I'm sorry we ran so far over. Thank y'all for sticking with me and participating in the conversation. I love that. And just please have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and be safe and be blessed, and love the families, love the kiddos, all that good stuff.
Same to you.
All right. And again,
Thank
if y'all
you.
need me, I'm here. Just text me.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Happy holidays, you guys.
Happy holidays,
Happy
everyone.
Same to you
holidays.
guys.
Stay
Happy
safe.
holidays.
Happy
Bye-bye.
holidays, y'all. Have a good one.
So
You too.
happy holidays. Happy holidays.